Hello everyone! In this video, I will tell you how you can get the 3D version of Melon Playground and what's new on this topic. The information we discussed in previous videos has been significantly updated. I have new data, new facts, and, believe me, some of it will definitely surprise you. The topic of three-dimensional mode has been actively discussed in chats, forums, and gaming communities for several months now. That's why I decided to collect all the evidence, hidden hints from developers, unusual coincidences, and little mysteries that many people didn't notice in this video. Be sure to subscribe and like. There's some very interesting material ahead. Let's go! First, let's compare what the classic version of the game looks like and what the three-dimensional version looks like. You can see both versions on the screen now. At first glance, it seems that there are a few changes, but if you look closely, the difference becomes huge. The 3D format looks much deeper, more realistic, and, most importantly, opens up a whole new set of possibilities. In the second image, we are essentially in a giant confined box. These are the walls of the level. It's the same as in a regular 2D map, only now everything has volume, distances, heights, directions. At the end of the video, I'll show you how to access this version and tell you what features and mechanics are already working. I am sure that some of the features of 3D mode will really surprise you. Now, a little history. The issue of implementing 3D is not being developed for the first time. Many people remember the early hints that appeared several years ago. Sometimes fragments, screenshots, or materials leak onto the network, which the developers then quickly delete. Personally, I believe that something big was planned since around version 20.0, perhaps preliminary preparation for the future volumetric mode. But probably at that moment, the game was simply not ready. There was a lack of resources, optimization, engine power, and there was no point in making 3D for a small audience at that time. Now the situation is completely different. Melon Playground is growing rapidly. People are discussing the game, installing it, shooting videos, making mods, and creating content. A huge number of new players are joining the community. If we take the data for this year alone, the audience has grown by about 1 million people, which is a significant number. The more people are interested in the game, the more support, popularity, and development funding it gets. This means that the technical capabilities are also growing. I'm sure you've also noticed how much the game's appearance has changed for the better with the latest updates. Write in the comments what you think. Will this speed up the development of 3D mode? Now about how switching between 2D and 3D can be implemented. According to rumors, it's quite simple. A mode selection will appear on the main screen. Press 2D to play as usual, press 3D to enter the 3D version. This solution seems very convenient. If you want the classic format, you play in it. If you want to experiment, you choose the new one. No complicated settings, everything is literally 2 clicks away. Let's discuss how 3D was manifested in the game itself before. Starting around version 25.0, we began to notice the regular appearance of 3D models of characters and objects. At first, it looked like experimental content, but it soon became clear that the demand was huge. Players create 3D structures, download themed mods, and the developers most likely saw the potential behind it. But here's the problem. Three-dimensional characters often look strange on a flat map. Look at how their arms and legs move. The angles are wrong, and sometimes the texture is missing. The same thing happens with maps. It is impossible to create a full-fledged three-dimensional location in 2D mode. That is why modders have to look for workarounds, come up with tricks and visual gimmicks. This works to some extent, but still creates the feeling of unfinished mechanics. For these reasons, many are convinced that the game has simply outgrown its format, and the developers are laying the groundwork for a new stage, volumetric mode. For now, we can only analyze the facts, compare details, and share our guesses. But the more information that emerges, the less it seems like a coincidence. If you look closely at the design of the maps, you can notice that the familiar volume is not the result of true 3D modeling. It is created by layering textures, correct shadows, and perspective construction. In essence, it's a visual illusion, skillfully created to make the player feel the depth of space, although the game itself remains within the 2D framework. But today on the screen is a completely different level. Before you is a test build of Melon Sandbox, where the space is already truly three-dimensional. There are no tricks or graphical gimmicks here. the player gains access to a real volumetric world with the ability to move freely. The community is actively discussing that such a mode could become part of one of the future updates. Version 45.0 is often mentioned as a possible transition point. However, there are no official statements from the developers, so everything remains at the level of speculation. As I see it, this update will be released around the winter of 2026. Even the early prototype shows how much wider the game's possibilities can become. Movement in different directions, exploration of the environment, physical interaction with objects, all this creates a completely new experience. The prospect of building multi-level structures, creating and controlling vehicles arises. Battles, weapons, various collision scenarios, all this takes on new forms and options. If this format is fully implemented, Melon Playground could change beyond recognition. The appearance of a three-dimensional mode will open the doors to fresh game mechanics, new maps, expanded types of interaction with objects, characters, and the surrounding world. In fact, this is a new stage for player creativity. Unfortunately, I can only show you the name of the game. You see it on the screens. I am not the owner of this mod. I just want to help you if this is important to you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.